Hey Rifters, welcome to the show. Subscriber review. We got a great show today. I'm very excited. He's promoting his new book that's coming out on October 7th, 2025. It's called And to Think We Started as a Book Club. It's gonna be great. He wrote and drew all the cartoons in it. I have cartoonist Tom Toro coming on the podcast via Zoom, and you can pick up his new book. And to think we started as a book club on October 7th, 2025, in bookstores, Amazon, everywhere books are at. Anyways, enjoy the podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend. We need the promotion now more than ever. Things are going down in the forest, as they say. Like Little Red Riding Hood when she went to the grandmother's house. She met the big bad wolf, and the wolf didn't eat her until she got to the grandmother's house. I always found that very fascinating, and I think that's on my mind that I might talk about that with my guests. So if I do, I apologize. But enjoy Reza Rifts with Tom Toro coming up next.
From Hollywood, California, welcome to Reza Rifts with your host, Keith Reza.
There he is. Hey, Tom.
What's up, Keith?
How are you, buddy?
Doing good. Can you hear me through this microphone?
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Great. Amazing.
Awesome.
It all works.
Yeah. Before we start, I just wanted to apologize to you. I know we were supposed to do this last week, but I just had so much going on in my personal life that it like was affecting my mental health, and I don't think it's good to do an interview when you're not in the right spirit. So I just
No
wanted to
worries.
apologize for that.
No worries. Have you sorted out all the social media nonsense?
No, it's I
Sorry to laugh. Sorry to laugh. It's just a macabre humor.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean that's where humor is through pain, so I get it. But no, man, it's been 2 weeks and like it's like a huge thing. ABC's doing a news article on it. I'm talking to a reporter. Like 150,000 Instagram accounts have been banned for an AI glitch, and it's just crazy because
I had no idea.
yeah, the crazy thing is Facebook and Meta is just like not mentioning it. You know what I mean?
Huh.
So it's like kind of, and when you're verified, that's the only way you could talk to support. And I was verified on
Right.
both accounts, but they were just, so I'm like totally just fucked right now. And and so
You
like
could you
all
could potentially you could potentially be in the midst of a lucrative class action lawsuit though. So
there,
that
there's one coming out. Yeah,
there you go.
I've already signed up for it, but it's affecting my stand-up ticket
Of
sales
course.
and the
Yeah.
podcast numbers. So like it's just, but I'm trying to stay positive. You know what I mean? Like because at the end of the day, it is just a social media thing. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
You know?
Yeah, how emotionally invested should you be? Well, I mean, it is as a freelancer, I'm also a freelancer. I assume you're a freelancer too,
Yeah,
comedian.
yeah,
So it's like that is very much the conduit to your audience. And so it does matter, but at the same time it's like, gosh, I wish I could just do the work and
yeah.
not have to do the self-promotion. Like maybe you can use these extra hours to just like come up with material.
No, yeah.
Or
I mean,
like
I've been writing so many jokes about it because, like I said before, I think humor is where the real pain is, but at the same time, it's just, it does affect because, everything's connecting to the social media where, like, if you want to find a new place to live or find a new job, until you hit the big times, like you, Tom, you know what I mean? Like, I still have so, like, it's,
the big time for cartooning is it's all relative.
yeah,
But I
but,
mean, yeah, it's that's really a bummer, dude. And you're almost in this like, yeah, I mean, once you start to even like trying to delete one of my old Facebook accounts because people sometimes post an old face like connect me. They sometimes tag my old Tom Toro account on Facebook, and like even trying to delete a defunct account through Meta is impossible.
yeah.
It's just this Kafka. You end up this Kafka-esque situation of like not being able to actually contact anybody and all these levels of verification that you've completely forgotten or like just obsolete.
Well, just one more thing on the subject, and then we'll move on to the cool stuff. But
Yeah, for sure.
you're absolutely right because I've been trying to make a new Instagram account, to try and contact Meta. But whenever I do it, it automatically gets suspended or deleted. I think maybe it's connected to my phone number or something. And they always say, "Oh, you're impersonating Keith Reza." And I'm like, I am Keith Reza, you motherfuckers. You know what I mean? Like, so it's frustrating to the
You're in
point.
this, but are you? I mean, like you're in this now. You're in this sort of existential crisis. You know, it's
Yeah,
like, are am I who I was before I started all this? Am I someone new?
I
Just
know.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah. That's it.
I'm questioning that myself too.
Let
Oh,
me grab a book to prop this up, so I'm not like leaning over so much.
oh yeah, definitely, definitely. And s-
Cool.
all right.
Yeah, I love doing podcasts. I just started just sort of this past year with, this book coming out and trying to just be like more public facing as a cartoonist.
Yeah,
I did a podcast with Paula Poundstone, which is super fun.
she's
And
one of my favorite comics in the
oh my
world.
God, dude. It was just
Uh,
an honor to be in the Zoom room with her. I mean, she's so funny. And
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, just her dry sense of humor. And she's a very kind person too. But I've had to like make this whole new setup. So this is actually where I draw on my desk here, but I've like moved everything aside and it's all sort of jerry-rigged.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of book, because you said you were getting a book, we should probably plug this book that it's called And to Think that we started as a book club, which comes out Tuesday, October 7th, 2025. But so this is the book we're promoting, but then I was doing some more research. You also have a book that you came out with recently called Crocodiles Need Friends Too.
Yeah, yeah, that's a kids book.
Yeah,
I do kids books in addition to well, this is my first cartoon collection, and I've done four kids books. So the one that came out in May was my fourth. So it's kind of a rare two book year. Like I don't know if you're in
yeah,
public, I don't know if you're familiar with publishing, but like the horizons of like when you finish things and when they come out and getting the next thing in process are so long that like there are years between when you've like initiated a project and when it finally comes to fruition. So like it's been cool. I've just gone right from crocodile promotion into the promotion for the book. But doing kids books is great. I mean, it's a really kind of a natural extension of cartooning.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Are we recording now or no?
oh yeah, yeah, we're recording
Oh, we're
now.
recording.
Yeah. We've been recording this whole time,
We're
Tom.
recording this whole time. Okay,
Yeah,
great.
yeah. But I could always edit it and
I
make
like
it,
how you roll. This is
it.
great.
Well, no, because I feel like if you do like a icebreaker, like it kind of doesn't. I just like let's just record it. If we get along, great. If not, we could edit it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah, no,
kind of
cool. That's cool. I
it's
like it. I like it.
it's because I feel when people are pressed on an interview, it's like, oh, I gotta be careful. And maybe it's just a stand-up mind that I have where it's like I don't really care. You know what I mean? Like I just want to just talk and have fun and
I have a list of these talking points that my publisher wants me to hit. You're gonna throw me off. I have a very strict agenda here, Keith.
oh well, we could
I'm just kidding.
we
I'm
could
just kidding.
definitely talk about them, but your publisher is gonna be like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't have set this up.
Yeah, but with the kids book, it was funny because the kids book actually, my most latest one, like you mentioned, Crocodiles Need Friends Too. The genesis of it was a cartoon. Like it was a cartoon that I did for the New Yorker. It was obviously one of those gag single panel cartoons of two crocodiles, and their eyes were sort of above the surface, like you imagine a crocodile like approaching its prey. But below the surface, you saw them knitting.
Yeah,
And the caption to the cartoon was, "Don't let anyone see how much we enjoy knitting." Like they have to maintain their furious facade, like that sort of thing, or for their fearsome facade. But yeah, so I that was the joke that was published in the New Yorker. Gosh, I want to say like 2018, 2019, something around there. And it struck me that like there's this whole other wealth of possibility in like what else can crocodiles be doing under the water that is like unseen. And so like
yeah,
that evolved into the idea for the kids book. And so of course you make it like a child crocodile and it's trying to make friends, but all the animals run away before it can show them its hidden talents and stuff like that. So yeah, it was one of those dream moments where you're like, as a cartoonist, you would like your cartoons to sort of like evolve into something more, because like you love these characters and you love the idea. So this one actually did that, and it was really really gratifying.
yeah. I mean, I kind of semi teach screenwriting, and before I became like a an assistant teacher, the guy when I was a student, he used to say, so the truth is you're probably never going to sell a movie. You should probably write a children's book because that's how you kind of get into the stuff. So I find that when I also find it to be the most hardest thing in the world to write a children's book. So I think like that.
It's super challenging. Yeah, I mean it's
Yeah.
very yeah. I mean I appreciate the advice your professor gave you, but he didn't mention like how the cutthroat world of children's publishing
Yeah, it's
because it can
crazy.
be really hard. I mean, obviously I had the leg up by being, I came to it in 2020 and I'd been doing cartoons for the New Yorker for about a decade at that point. So like when you come with that sort of imprimatur like of the New Yorker, like, you kind of can sift to the top of the stack of what the stuff they're willing to consider. And also if you can come to it being able to draw and write like that is very, very helpful. Selling just a pure children's book manuscript without being able to like have, illustrations attached to it can be more challenging because you're relying on the imagination of the editor. Like even at
Uh,
this point when I've done 4 books, whenever I put together a proposal, I still have a fully drawn, dummy because like you want to be as persuasive as possible and sort of communicate the vision.
Now,
Um,
does that like I don't know the right word for it, but does that like kind of make your mind go like shattered and stuff because like you got to get it so perfect and stuff and you have all these ideas where you're like trying to like, all right, which one's the one I want to use? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I have a ton of ideas for books. I mean, it kind of, and also fleshing them out to the point where they're fully drawn like manuscripts. I don't go to the extent of like coloring each page, but it's like they're pretty detailed sketches. That's how you just like figure out the story,
Yeah.
because like a lot of the story can be told through images instead of writing, and so you sort of learn what the balance is between the text and the image. And also it's just like I think that you also discover like which ideas don't work, right?
Yeah.
Like in that process, like, oh, I don't quite have enough here. There's not enough story. This character isn't quite as charming as I thought it would be. Or it's like there's something, the premise is a little bit off, there's not enough inherent dramatic tension like in the premise. Um, so yeah, it's just a way of exploring. I mean, rejection is just the ocean we swim in. And so
Yeah.
it's like I submit maybe 500 cartoons to the New Yorker a year, 450 to 500, and on a good year I'll sell
Whoa.
20.
Oh my God.
So it's like the rejection, like most of your stuff doesn't work,
Yeah.
right? Which I'm sure as a stand-up, you discover that in real time.
Well, no, that
Yeah.
was one of the things I found fascinating about you because when I was doing the research, I read that you didn't sell your first piece until after like 610 rejections, and that's I always thought that that was like an acting thing where like you get rejected 100 times before you get one yes. You know what I mean? So it's kind of nice that that's in a different business too because I feel like a lot of people don't understand rejection.
It's hard. I mean, yeah, I think in any art form, you have to sort of develop calluses like around that. But it also helps sort of refine your own internal editor. Like I think one of the things that people ask, like, how do you come up with ideas a lot? And, I sort of start from scratch. It feels like every day I'm in a panic over whether I've tapped out, whether I will have any more ideas that come to me. But I think one thing that experience teaches you over enough time is you sort of develop a sixth sense for like of the ideas that have a glimmer of possibility in them.
Yeah,
Like, oh, I think this one might work. And you sort of are able to you go down less dead ends, or
yeah.
fewer dead ends, like as you become more experienced, but you still go down plenty of them, you know. The former editor of the New Yorker, the cartoon editor, Bob Mankoff, who I broke in underneath, he has this saying where he says, like, um, the difference between a professional and an amateur is that an amateur loves all the stuff they do, and a professional is never satisfied.
Oh my God.
Well, it's like I kind of think that's true, right? I mean, I don't like sort of one thing I don't like about that is that like I think we are allowed to like our work.
Yeah,
I think it's okay to have some level of satisfaction, but I think what that means is like it's what we were talking about earlier about the sort of enduring rejection, just getting used to knowing that not everything you do is going to be great,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Not being sort of satisfied, always exploring, always sort of trying out new things, and not being afraid to try new things. So when you're trying new things, you're going to fail most of the time, right?
But do you think that advice has changed now that like you're very successful and stuff? Like that, like you're like, okay, maybe I kind of don't really agree with it, but when I first started, I totally did agree with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of encouraging when you're getting rejected more when you're starting out. I think you always want to be in a place where maybe it's like, if you're not failing enough, then you're probably not pushing yourself enough or something. It's like growing as an artist. Like I want to. I'm in a phase now where I'm kind of like I've been doing this now for 15 years, and which is great, and I'm very very grateful for the career I've been able to build. But like I don't want to get complacent. Like I want to keep experimenting. Like I had a comic strip that I was doing for Andrews McMeel over the past 3 years, where I was doing a completely different kind of drawing style. I actually was doing, using a nib pen and doing like it was very influenced by like Calvin and Hobbes and the comics that I loved growing up with. And that was a
Yeah.
challenge because I was having to follow one set of characters over consistent storylines, which in the New Yorker, you're drawing a cartoon that's just a single panel gag cartoon, whatever suits the joke, right?
Yeah.
Whatever cast of characters, whatever scenario, whatever setting suits the joke. You don't have to draw the same character then the next week doing a different thing. So just like finding ways within cartooning to keep growing and experimenting, and that entails its own. When you're stepping into a new landscape, you're going to stumble and fail, like just all over again. You
Yeah,
know, even with
definitely.
kids' books, like with kids' books too, I've only done four so far, which is really, which is great. And I'm very thankful for it. But I still feel like I've barely scratched the surface,
Yeah.
you know?
Man, I'm trying to write a kid's book and I just don't think I'm ever gonna sell it because the title is very, very funny. You know,
Is
it's
that's a bad thing?
yeah, well no, it's called This is Why You Should Not Do Heroin. So, I'm kind of nervous. Yeah, but
That's okay, yeah, yeah. But like heroin, like the hero of the story, like gotcha,
exactly.
gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love puns. I absolutely love puns. Like I'm a dad, I lean into it. It's fine. Like puns are great. I have a, I do love kids' books where like, the title is the premise.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you just tell what the book's about. Like my
Uh,
first book that I did in 2020 was called How to Potty Train Your Porcupine. So
Oh my God, that's
it's just
funny.
like kids, because like and the cover was a porcupine wearing diapers, but the diapers were leaking because its quills poked holes in it. So like
Yeah.
you can't have the porcupine wear diapers, so you have to potty train it. So yeah, it's like that kind of like that visual humor, but also yeah, I think there's something in like just like did you ever watch the documentary Too Funny to Fail about the Dana Carvey show? Like the
Uh,
short-lived and
no,
ill-fated Dana Carvey show?
no, I didn't. But I know Dana Carvey, who that is. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I think after he left SNL, he was like the hottest thing in comedy.
He
Like,
had
like
his
on the
own
co
talk show, right?
yeah, he was on like the cover of Rolling Stone, but he was gonna
Yeah.
do his own like sketch comedy show, and they had this like stable of people who had gone to become legendary writers, Steve Carell, Stephen Colbert, all these guys, and like there was one really funny moment in the documentary, and like the legend of it is that they had all these geniuses working on it, and it got canceled in its first season because it was just like they were I don't know, it was just like not the right fit. They were like they were a little bit in their own world, and also they were slated to follow Home Improvement, so going from like Tim Allen humor into Dana Carvey like odd absurdist humor was just like too jarring for audiences.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's one amazing moment where they're working on a sketch with Stephen Colbert and Steve Carell, where they're playing waiters who are nauseated at the idea of food. And so like the camera is the restaurant patron, and they're telling you like the specials of the day, but they're like having to restrain their gag reflex, and they can barely get through the list of specials, and they're always like on the verge of vomiting,
Oh
which is
my
like a funny
God.
premise. But like they did it the first time, and it was well acted and kind of funny, but like no one understood what was happening. And then Dana gave them a note where he said, "Tell the audience what the joke is." And so they did it again, and they started with a title card that said, "Waiters who are nauseated at the idea of food." And so like you go into it knowing what they're doing, right?
Right.
So it's almost like tell the audience what the joke is. I really like that because it's like just like let us enjoy it, like let us know what we're supposed to be enjoying, don't be too clever with it,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know? Yeah. That's
Well,
how I kind of think about the title of kids' books is like let us know what's inside this book and
no,
then let us just enjoy it.
well, I always have a theory that the perfect joke is when the setup is 99% similar to the punchline. So that's, and I also have a theory why that Dana Carvey show didn't work because if you think about it, like SNL, the reason why I mean, I don't think SNL is that great anymore, but the reason why SNL like lives forever is because there's not really a star person, like there's people who are becoming stars, but they're not really stars, and it's like a team. And then when someone like Dana Carvey becomes a star and he's like, all right, fuck SNL, I want my own show. He kind of has to carry it and he doesn't know how to do it. You know what I mean? So it happens like in history
Hmm.
with sports too, where it's kind of like that, where like it doesn't take a star to change everything. You need a team of everything to make it grow. You know what I mean?
Mm-mm-mm. I read the Lorne Michaels biography. There was
Yeah,
just there's put out, yeah. And one of the funny things that they mentioned, it was kind of a fascinating biography, obviously, for this one person to like maintain the helm of this ever-changing thing with like how many comedians he went up through the operation underneath him. But one thing he says that like his greatest thing that he had to learn was how to manage young people becoming famous.
yeah, exactly.
And like that was like the trick. And also with Dana Carvey, I mean, if I'm remembering the documentary correctly, like that was in the moment of SNL when everyone was really keen to like develop iconic characters. Like it was like the
Yeah,
Wayne's World and like the church lady. So I think when the network signed up for the Dana Carvey show, they were expecting just like, oh, give us these like church lady characters. And they
right.
were only interested in doing absurdist. I mean, the opening sketch, I think, was Bill Clinton breastfeeding like kittens at a Humane Society event. And they had like Bill Clinton open his shirt and he had like six
Mm,
breasts and he was like
yeah,
breastfeeding puppies. So like when you tune into that after watching Home Improvement, like you can see why this show is a little bit ahead of its time.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I apologize because if you've been asked these questions before, but I don't really know much about you and I don't really know much about the career field you're in, but I find it fascinating. But I wanted to know, like, how old were you when you started sketching and you thought, huh, maybe I could do this for a living? Because I feel like when people sketch when they're kids, it's kind of just out of, like, I don't want to hear the teacher talk. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, I still feel like I'm trying to figure out how to do it for a living.
Really?
But yeah.
I find you so, I mean, for children's books, you have all these cartoons, you have a new book, you're more Googleable than me, so I find you very successful.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like within my field, I am really, thankful for, the work I've been able to do. But I feel like as an artist, you're always just like on the edge of your seat, like, will I be able to do the next project, hunting up
Yeah.
gigs and stuff. I feel like I'm never quite going to grow out of that like hustle mindset. But yeah, I mean, when I reflect on like how did I start drawing, I was always really into comics. I remember just like waiting for the next morning's newspaper. I'm 43, so I like grew up in the late 80s, mid late 80s, early 90s. We would get the paper every day, and I would just like go immediately to Calvin and Hobbes,
Yeah.
immediately to the Far Side. Like I would spend my summers leafing through the Far Side collections that came out. So I was super influenced by those, and also like the Disney movies. I can remember like the first thing I can remember thinking, oh, I want to do this as a job is to be like a Disney animator
Oh,
because
really?
I loved those movies so much.
Yeah.
Those
Which one
out.
was your favorite?
Oh gosh, like Little Mermaid, Lion King, Aladdin. Definitely, I grew up during that era, and also like the older ones that my mom introduced me to, like the original like Robin Hood, when Robin Hood is like a fox, and
Oh,
like I
yeah.
like love those '70s ones too. All of them. I mean, and like Pinocchio. Pinocchio is my dad's favorite movie, so we would like rewatch Pinocchio a bunch.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and I was like, oh my gosh, I would love to do this. So I remember like pausing my VHS tapes of my favorite moments of those movies and like sketching them down. But then my VHS player would start like playing again automatically after 5 minutes, so I'd have to like rewind and find the right panel. This is way before Google Images.
Right.
Um, yeah, but then I would sketch in school and stuff like that, and my sketching kind of fell off in high school. I got much more into sports. And also, like, I got much more like self-conscious, and I, sort of retreated into myself, became very much more like kind of like an introvert, and like my sense of humor sort of went inward a little bit. But in college, I was searching for community there, and I went to one of the events that the college paper was holding, and they were looking for cartoonists to contribute to their comics page. And
Oh,
I was like,
nice.
oh my gosh! Like then I started submitting, weekly comics for the publication, and that was my first encounter with like having an audience for
Yeah.
my stuff, which was super. I mean, I'm sure you probably got this little like, you know, jolt of endorphins like when you had your first like joke work, as a stand-up or something. But I remember walking through the dining hall and overhearing people like chuckling at like my little panel comic I'd done for the school paper. And that was like, oh my gosh, I'm actually communicating, like I'm connecting with people like through my sense of humor. So that sort of awakened in me like this this desire to like, have an audience and like communicate things through my drawing. So I did that all through 4 years. I actually studied filmmaking in college. So I went into film
Really?
and I learned pretty quickly that like my storyboards were better than the movies I made from my storyboards. Because like directing actors on set is not my bag. I like working. I was always the kid who like took the class project home and did it myself.
Right,
Because
yeah.
I do like collaborating to some extent, but like being creative in an extroverted way, like that's not when I have my best like ideas. Like I have to sort of have a space to myself and be a little bit more intimate in my own head to have my best ideas or to feel my most creatively empowered. So yeah, so then I went back home and totally, rethought what my career trajectory could be and started submitting cartoons to the New Yorker. Um,
That's
yeah.
awesome, man.
Yeah, so
And
it's kind of a winding journey, but like it was there. Drawing was always there in some form or fashion throughout. And I think I've always, you know, it's like it takes you a while to discover. I always knew I was funny and I had a sense of humor, but like, what is the proper like venue for that? You know?
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I wanted to ask you, like, when you write the joke punchlines to your drawings, like, how many do you write, and like, how do you feel like, okay, this is the perfect one for this? Because, like, with a normal joke, I could write a joke 100 different times, and sometimes I like four or five. I think, okay, this is perfect, and I can't agree which one's the better punchline.
Yeah, no, that's a huge part of the job is really refining the caption or the punchline, like in cartoons they're called the caption, or even if it needs a caption. I mean,
Yeah. Sometimes they
sometimes
don't. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Like in cartooning, the platonic ideal of a cartoon would be almost be like a wordless one. Like if you can do a joke that only belongs to the cartoon medium, like that's cool, right? It can't be a stand-up bit. It can't be like a sitcom TV bit. It can't be in a movie. It's like just a cartoon.
Yeah.
So those are great. And if you can hit upon those, fantastic. But when you're working with one that has a caption, um, I mean, the economy it has to be super fast, obviously. Like the faster it works, the better. And the word choice, like my most famous cartoon is this one of this sort of, businessman sitting with a group of children around a campfire in this like post-apocalyptic landscape. Behind them, you can sort of see a decimated skyline of what might be Manhattan. And the businessman is saying to the children, yes, the planet got destroyed, but for a beautiful moment in time, we created a lot of value for shareholders. And that cartoon has been sort of memed by the climate movement. So that
Yeah.
took me, I mean, that came to me fairly quickly, but it also like deciding on, okay, do I say a lot of value for shareholders? Do I say a lot of money for shareholders? Do I say a lot of profit for shareholders? So like that word choice became important and like how to set it up where it's like, but for a beautiful moment in time. Like when I hit upon that phrase, I was like, okay, this is going to work as a punchline because you're like waxing poetic about this completely, you know, inane capitalist thing about shareholder value, right?
Right.
At the cost of the entire planet behind them. So then I knew like the sort of poeticism versus the like bottom line economics and the sort of corporate boardroom PowerPoint presentation speak, of the value for shareholders.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the tension between that I knew would work, but it took a little while to like settle on the exact wording. So there's a ton of agonizing over that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a talent itself, not just drawing and stuff, but like doing that, that's like another uh bag full of nightmares. You know what I mean? Because you're like, holy Lord.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of and like hitting upon the premise of the joke too, like getting the harmony to work between the image and the caption. Like there's sort of a rule of thumb where it's like you can't put a hat on a hat, so it's like if the image portrays something absurdist, like there's something incongruous in the image, then the caption has to sort of be more understated. The caption has to sort of land us a little bit more in reality. You can't
Right.
have an absurd image with an absurd caption because then it's just a little bit too goofy. Like you're sort of like, I think, especially because humor doesn't work without a context. Like
Right.
for my main client, the New Yorker, you have to be very cognizant of like this is supposed to be appropriate to the New Yorker, right?
Yeah.
So it can't be the same style as like a Sunday morning comic or like a Animaniacs thing. It's got to be imagining the cartoon embedded in the columns of like Pulitzer Prize winning journalism. You have to like it has to be appropriate to that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
for
So it's like
sure.
you want to have a little more understated, a little more dry. I think that's where the sort of knock of humor of New Yorker cartoons, like quote, not being funny, comes from, where like they're a little bit more understated. You know what I mean?
But they're not, but also they're not always supposed to be funny, right? Is that
Hmm.
true? Like,
Yeah, I mean, one of the funny little anecdotal things is like when the New Yorker sends you the contract to become a cartoonist for them, nowhere in the contract does the word cartoon appear. They're actually hiring you to do idea drawings,
right.
which is
Yeah.
a really interesting thing, right? I think it's a little it sort of widens the aperture on like what the cartoons can be. And I think you're right. They don't necessarily always have to be funny. They can almost be more whimsical or observational. The ones that I like the most are actually funny,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
but they don't have to be. And I think and sometimes, you know, the more memorable, like sometimes, the speed is important. The best jokes are the fastest jokes, but also I kind of like the ones that are a little more like ruminative, right? Where you're
Yeah.
just like, what is that? Is that a cartoon? Does that work? What, like the ones that's going to make you pause and think.
I mean, I see cartoons all the time in like newspapers and online and stuff where like, not to really jump into the political field, but they show Trump and Trump is always fat. And I always thought maybe I don't think it's funny because what if they'd made him skinny? You know what I mean? Where
Hmm.
like I feel like maybe that would get my attention a lot more because Trump's not he's not really fat, but he's not really skinny. And I feel like when they write him fat, I don't get the joke. But if they write him skinny, I'd get it better. Does that make sense?
Huh, it's almost like the like buffoonish depiction of him kind of distracts from like the point the comic's trying to make.
Yeah.
It's almost like
Yeah.
sort of an ad hominem instead of like like digging him for his policy or his you know
Yeah.
whatever else. Yeah, yeah. I think that's one thing the New Yorker like. There's not a lot of there's a lot of different styles that people use in the New Yorker. So it's like the style is not necessarily the sort of barrier to entry to get in
Right.
terms of what's appropriate to the magazine. Although it's rare that you would see characters depicted in a way that like is might be construed as like poking fun at their physicality,
Right.
right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
that's not the point of the joke. It's like make fun of how people look, right? Like
Right.
you're never going to really do that in the
And
in the
maybe that's the feeling I get when I see it is that it's definitely just making fun of the look and not just policies.
right, right,
And
right.
I feel like that's kind of what I don't get about these certain cartoons that I see.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, my whole thing about like how to think about the context of the New Yorker cartoon and what makes the New Yorker cartoon work, going back to the kind of like, my influences in drawing and growing up and doodling, in class and stuff like that. I think of the cartoons, the way that they're presented within the magazine, as almost like passing a note to a friend during class.
Right. Yeah.
Right? It's like here we are supposed to be learning about this brilliant journalism. Here's this correspondent from Iran like telling us all about the current geopolitical situation, and here's this cartoon over in the corner. Like in that article, what's it even doing there? It's almost like a mystery that the cartoons are in the magazine at all, right? But it's like they're meant to kind of be a little elbow in the ribs, right?
Yeah.
About like let's we're all human here. This is going on, and also we can laugh, at just our condition on Earth at the same time. But yeah, I think it has to. So it's like striking that balance about like, you know, you don't want to make your friend laugh out loud, or else he'll get in trouble.
Right.
But
Right.
you want to
Definitely.
make him enjoy this thing that you've passed to him. So I think that's kind of how I think about it.
Yeah, man. Like when I found out I was going to interview you, like I was thinking of my jokes of like, I mean, Paula Poundstone kind of does this too, where she thinks of a joke and she kind of draws something similar to her joke. And just in my head, I was just thinking, I was like, that would be so cool, but I don't know how to do any of that.
I
You
asked
know?
Paula, I asked Paula for a blurb for my cartoon collection, and she very kindly agreed. And what she sent me was a sketch.
Yeah,
She
really.
sent me she sent me a sketch of herself reading the book, laughing at the book, which
Yeah.
is really interesting, right? It's like it's not something I can use as a quote, but it's very flattering.
Oh man. I'm so
Yeah.
jealous you got to talk to her. I mean, I didn't listen to it because I didn't want to like fall in the same categories of asking the same questions, but I just think that's just so cool when, because she's a comic hero of mine, and then, when you're just being interviewed by people, I think that that's kind of like, hey, now I'm being valued for what I've provided. You know what I mean?
Hmm. And she has a definite persona, which I think is not entire. It's like an exaggerate. Her stage presence is sort of an exaggeration of her everyday persona, but not entirely. I mean, she still comes across as like, the Paula Poundstone you would imagine talking to, like very,
Yeah.
but also very kind. Um, I wanted to ask you, like, do you have like what you consider like a stage persona that's like different from your chatting with
Well,
friends at a bar persona?
Well, I think what makes me different is I have autism, so I really talk about being on the spectrum and stuff. And the other thing, like, what also makes me different in comedy is not to brag, Tom, but I'm actually very, very good at comedy. And and
I have no
uh
doubt.
and it's not like an ego thing. It's just I was trained by my favorite comic of all time, and I toured with him for 9 years, so I kind of learned the secrets to it where, I see other comics struggle. I know immediately what they're doing wrong. Does
Mm.
that make sense? And it's
Hmm.
like,
Hmm.
and it's not that the same path I'm following, just I learned so much through Norm that I kind of know how to do things, twist it and turn it just like that,
Mm. Mm.
where I could,
Are you talking about Norm Macdonald?
yeah, yeah, I toured with Norm.
Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing.
And he was like my dad, so like I learned literally everything, the secrets and all that stuff where I can make any joke funny just like that if I really wanted to.
That's amazing. Oh my God, I'm like starstruck now, like vicariously.
Oh my
Norm
God.
is one of my comedy heroes too. I mean, if not the like, gosh, the way he can sit in discomfort is
Yeah.
so amazing. Like I love just the way that he will cold clock an audience and just like let you sit there with
And
his
I
joke.
I find that so funny because it's
Yeah.
brilliant because there's a way where, comedy's all about, it's kind of like magic. It's all about illusions where, but the thing with comedy is there has to be truth in it for it to be funny. But there's no rules of where the truth is. Does that make sense?
I love that. I love that. Yeah.
So the truth could be in the very beginning, but most people think it's going to be, in the middle, and then the punchline's the complete opposite, or the truth could be the punchline and you would never know. And
Mm.
so like that's why I think comedy is just so, I think only few people could actually really really do it like crisp,
Yeah, yeah. No, I love that. I mean, one of the things that I've told this story before in other contexts, but like when I was first trying to crack into the New Yorker, I would just spend hours, I was like listening to the radio as I was sketching, and one time I overheard a conversation with Terry Gross and Jon Stewart in like the heyday of Stewart during Obama's first presidential run, and she kept trying to get him to admit that he was a journalist. And
Right.
she and but he like refused to accept that title. And finally he just said, "No, no, no. All the research we do, all the fact checking we do is not for journalistic purposes, it's for comedic purposes because jokes don't work unless they're true."
Right.
And like that like lit up like a neon sign. It's like, yes, jokes don't work unless they're true. In his context, he was talking about like, factually true. But there's also like psychological truth. Like there's like emotional truth that has to be identified. And that's how you create the identification with the audience,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
It's like we're connecting because we understand that this is a common experience, you know.
Yeah.
I love like God, Norm is so we could just talk about Norm for the next 4 hours. But like his
It would be
his his
great.
Hitler's Dog. I like rewatch Hitler's Dog, his
I helped him write
special.
that special.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
I wrote the title. I was like, because he would always close on Hitler's dog story, and it was originally called Misery and Trickery, and I was like, you should probably put Hitler's dog in it, then Misery and Trickery, because you're closing on Hitler's dog, and it would be very, very funny if you go on Netflix and it says Hitler's dog.
Provocative, yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, he wrote the joke, but he was like, dude, that's such a great title. And I was like, yeah, I mean, and
Incredible, incredible.
so, you
One of
know,
my favorite bits in that, maybe you wrote it, but one of my favorite bits in that special is when he thinks that, or he postulates that like the entire point of Lincoln giving the Gettysburg Address was he wanted to make score catch on as slang.
yeah, yeah. So I do get asked that about like how many jokes did I write for Norm, and the truth is I wrote for him, but he wrote them because like it's kind of like when you're writing a joke, it's kind of like this where you're going through so many ideas, and at the end of the day, he's the one who put it together.
Mm,
So like I might have given him an idea or a punchline that he could twist, But at the end of the day, it was all him. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So like,
Do you know Lars Kenseth, the cartoonist, comedy writer? I think he wrote some jokes for Norm when Norm, I forget the name of it, but Norm's like interview talk show that he had like on that was like one of the last things he did on Netflix.
yeah,
I
yeah.
remember
I
them.
wrote for that. Yeah,
Oh, you did? Okay,
yeah, yeah,
maybe yeah. I mean, anything he does is just so. Were you there when David Letterman walked off the set because
yeah,
Norm's joke was so bad?
yeah, yeah. But yeah.
What
So
was that? The Otter one? The
no,
Otter?
that was the Netflix one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But But yeah, man, it was, I mean, I might have met your friend or, but like also like when you're in a writer's room, here's another thing people don't realize is like you usually just write it over emails and then you just send it in. Like I never really went to the tapings. I mean,
Gotcha.
I went to the Letterman one because, you know, he was my boss, but I never really met him. And I went to the Spade one and I went, you know, I went to a couple of them, but at the other, you know, it's like why do I need to be there? You know what I mean? Like it's I
Right.
just and like I
That
said,
reminds me of one of my favorite Seth Meyers. He does surprise inspection. Do you ever watch the surprise inspection
no,
specials?
no, yeah.
So he does this special thing where it's like, well, it's not a special he did, but it's like this one of these segments he does during in his talk show called Surprise Inspection, where he goes through all the jokes that his writers submitted that are like the worst jokes that week that were like completely unusable. But
Oh my God.
he'll tell them on air to like shame the writers, and like that's sort of the bit. But he leads into the segment by saying, so, you know, these are real jokes that my real writers submitted, and because they don't watch the show, they will never know that we're doing this.
It sounds like I want to start watching that now.
Yeah. But I
But
like that idea of like, you know, you're involved in the show, but like sort of, you know.
yeah, it's just but no. So like Norm did literally everything. We just helped him give I don't know, ideas to make it stronger, you know.
No, he's amazing. I mean, his sensibility, I feel like he would have been if like there was a twist of fate and a sliding door moment earlier in his life, he could have easily been like a New Yorker cartoon. Like with his
Oh, for
sensibility, with his like
sure.
the dry wit. I would love to see how he would have drawn his characters, but I think maybe that's why I chime with him so deeply because I share his just sort of like really dry, you know, sensibility. I love it so much.
Well, Tom, I have four more questions for you. Is it okay if I nail these out? I want to respect your
Absolutely.
time. Okay.
Absolutely.
So this question is actually just for me, and I just want to see if you think I got the cartoon chops. Okay.
Perfect. Hit me.
So I'm gonna like give it to you. All right. A big scary wolf, right? Like teeth out, you know, and then he's like right there, and then two ostriches are there, right? And they see the wolf, right? And the ostrich says, "We should probably fly away."
I do like that. I do
Oh,
like
okay.
that.
Excellent.
I can see that where like it's a strong visual. I think you led with a strong visual. I get it. There's the twist where you know, it's like, you know, I was expecting there to be some variation of bury your head in the sand, but the complete opposite. Yeah, I love that. I love
Okay.
that.
All right, cool.
Violence is a tricky thing. Like, you know, like sort of the I'm trying to think about. I mean, there is violence in New Yorker cartoons. There's like a lot of like there is one that I did that they published, which is one of my favorite ones, where it's hard to like visually explain it. You have to sort of like decode the image a little bit. But there's this like storefront, and there's two guys standing in front of a storefront. There's like a new sign being put up at the storefront, and it says coal and sun, but there's a blank space where like the second S should be. And then
Right.
you look down and the S has fallen and it's fallen on a third guy there and killed him. And the person standing in the two guys standing in front of the sign, one of them is the older guy, the dad, and he says, "Well, I guess we can just leave the sign as is." Because now he only has one son. Right?
Right.
So
I
like
just,
so they do allow some degree of like, you know,
I,
there's a lot of like guillotine jokes, you know.
right.
So maybe yeah, that could work. I don't know. Like I'll sketch it up, and if they buy it, I'll credit you.
Oh, that would be
Or
awesome.
maybe this could be the start of your journey. So that's one. Now you need to work your way to 610, and
Yeah.
they'll buy that one. Yeah.
But that would be so cool if you do that. I'd be like, "Oh my God." I would be like, "Oh, well."
All
But
right,
that
cool. Yeah, you have a future in cartooning, my friend.
Oh, cool. And then I wanted to ask you, Tom, like, in cartooning, what are your biggest fears in it? Like, are you scared of AI taking over, or like, what's a fear you have when you're doing it? And do you still have that fear when you're drawing and stuff?
Yeah, I mean AI is like a whole can of worms, which we could talk about for another 2 hours. I do worry about AI. I think that like, it's here. There's not going to be a lot of legislating against it, from the government for the time being. There is like an almost Greek myth level paradoxical irony about the fact that like we were tricked by social media companies into uploading all of our intellectual property for free, and then
Right.
they turn around and develop a technology stealing our intellectual property to like then replace us, right?
Right.
It's almost like we've fed the beast that is now going to come and devour us. I don't know, like if AI might get to the point where it can be funny, and like aesthetically consistent. I think that's one of the things that we have as artists that AI doesn't, is like we can build a body of work, and AI doesn't quite have like a consistency to it, like like when it sort of spits out images. But that's another topic. For me personally, at this moment, I'm always trying to loosen up, like to kind of maintain the energy that was present in my initial sketch that I submit to the New Yorker when they then ask me to do a finish. Then I have to replicate that drawing, but like in finished form with the watercolor. I like to do a lot of painting on it and keeping that feeling spontaneous and not keeping it feel like I'm sort of coloring by numbers.
Right.
Is a constant challenge. Like keeping that energy inside of it when I'm like asked to deliver. Like the equivalent for you might be like, getting up and delivering the same joke for the 50th time, like keeping it feeling fresh,
Right.
right?
Right.
That's
That's
always
tough.
that's
Yeah.
always a struggle. That's always a struggle. So that's something that I think I'll probably be working on until the end of my career.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's such a struggle, especially if your parents or your significant other is always there. You're like, God, man, fuck these people. You know what I mean? Like it's just like, oh, dude.
You've heard this before. Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
It's like telling jokes at a funeral, man. It's just
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
not going
But it's like
through.
the George Carlin ethic, where I think, at the end of his, or like in his mature career, he had this. I think I'm correct in saying that like he would do like force himself to do an hour of new material every year. And he would
Yeah.
like throw it away at the end of the year and like not reuse stuff and
Yeah.
make a new hour. So just like trying to keep it fresh for yourself, not getting bored with yourself, and also just growing. Like, one of my favorite artists, so William Steig, who invented Shrek, the character Shrek, in like his children's books. So he was a New York cartoonist who did children's books. His early stuff is much different in appearance than his later stuff. He grew a lot,
Oh,
and
really?
changed a lot. So having an arc like that has always interested me. Allowing yourself to change. I mean, we're different people. I'm different than I was 15 years ago. I'm sure you are
Yeah.
too.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I told a joke last night actually where I thought it was very, very funny and clever. And some people got it, and then some people just thought it was like, I don't know, too soon or whatever. But it was one of those feelings where it was like, that's a great joke, regardless of, you know what I mean? And like the joke is like, Michael Jordan said he smoked a cigar before every single game, and that's why he was the best basketball player of the world because he smoked a cigar. And then Babe Ruth, he chewed a thing of bubble gum before every single home run, and they said that's why he got all these home runs is because of bubble gum. And Bill Cosby, he raped someone once before a set. So like that's what I and like people were just like, hold.
The habits of successful people.
But
Oh, that's dark. But I love that. Yeah, yeah. The rule of threes is right there, and yeah, that's great.
yeah,
I mean, sit in the discomfort. Sit in the
exactly.
discomfort.
And the sad part is like I don't like uh high five for what he did, but the sad part is he was actually probably the best stand-up of all time.
I mean, that's the paradox. That's the cruelest thing. It's like, and also like
Yeah.
like Woody Allen's movies are like great. And like like yeah, it's really hard. There's a W. Kamau Bell documentary called "We Need to Talk About Bill Cosby," which I actually haven't like watched yet, but it's about that like deeply conflicted relationship, especially within the Black community, about like the legacy of Bill Cosby and how like you
Yeah.
can't you can't just brush it aside because it's so powerful and so important. But like
Yeah.
sitting with his sort of monstrosity at the same time. It's really, really hard. I've often heard from stand-ups that like their favorite jokes are the ones where there's like some person in the far back of the room who laughs
And no one
and
else
no one else does.
does.
And you're like, yes, like I'm keeping it.
That's what happened to me last
Yeah.
night. So Tom, there's this thing where, where stand-ups, they say, who's your Mount Rushmore of stand-ups, the top four. I'm curious, who's your Mount Rushmore of cartoonists?
Within the New Yorker, Charles Adams, for sure. I love Charles Adams. The macabre sensibility, just the absolutely unique style. The way that it was his cartoons are not only dark and funny and so unexpected, but they're so well done. Like the drawings are absolutely gorgeous. Like I respect his artistry and his humor, which is like a rare combination. He developed the Addams Family, obviously. I mean, you can't get any better than that as a cartoonist. And just the way that, and also I read a biography of him, and he like had a really really fun life, like he just was
Yeah.
able to like live well and also do good work, which I think just as just a person in the world, I admire that as well. He actually briefly dated Jackie Onassis,
Oh
which
my
is
God.
wild. Like he was a real man about town, and she in their breakup, she said the most devastating thing to him that's ever been said to anyone during the course of a breakup. She said, "What are we going to do all day? Talk about cartoons?"
Really? Oh my God.
Which as a cartoonist, I'm like, oh, cruel, cruel. But yeah, Charles
That's
Adams, like
that's
Charles
terrible.
Adams, Charles Adams, like in the New Yorker, outside of the New Yorker, like Matt Groening. I mean, like amazing. Like The Simpsons is insane. Like that was such an influence to me. Like my sense of humor in elementary school was basically arriving at school and seeing which one of my group of friends could like quote The Simpsons the most quickly, like, and you won the day,
Yeah.
like, and other than that, I mean, there's a lot of people I admire in different genres, like Dan Clowey's in the sort of graphic novelist space. He did Ghost World, and these other like modern amazing comics. So yeah, I have a lot of people who I admire and am influenced by. But I'd say that probably, yeah, probably Charles Adams. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know much about these fellas, but Tom, the good news is you're in my Mount Rushmore because I know you. You know what I mean? So like that, I don't
That's great.
know.
I'm
I don't
flattered. I'm
know.
flattered.
Yeah, I don't know if that's good or bad, but but
Your Mount Rushmore is like a sandcastle. It's not as high as it should be, but I'm on like the mini version of your Mount Rushmore. That's good.
I would say you. I would say Frank Miller,
Oh
uh,
my God, Frank Miller, yeah.
and I would say I would agree with you on the guy on The Simpsons.
Matt
I think
Groening, yeah, for sure.
he's
His
great.
even like his Life in Hell, like his early stuff. Have you seen the Life in Hell stuff? Where
No,
it's just like
no.
two rabbits who look sort of like Simpsons rabbits, but it's like it's just really existential and dark and weird. And like The Simpsons, would obviously become his most famous stuff, but he started with like a sort of underground comic gonzo sensibility. It was really cool. Yeah.
And then I would say Keith Reza because I just did a great wolf ostrich one. So it's gonna be
Big up
great.
yourself, man. Like love your own work. Like as artists, we're like told we should be like self-flagellating and like self-loathing, but let's
Yeah.
love ourselves.
All right. And then my last question for you, and this is about your book that's coming out on October 7th, 2025, and it's called And to Think We Started as a Book Club. I wanted to ask you, what is the one thing if someone said, Hey, Tom, why should I buy this book compared to all the other books? Like, what's the reason that this book will stand out?
It is really, really funny. And I'm gonna toot my own horn just the way that you said, like you're really, really good at stand-up. Like I'm really good at cartooning.
Yeah.
And anyone who's interested in cartooning, it's basically all my greatest hits from the past 15 years, like of the New Yorker, some of the stuff that you might even recognize as being like viral, online things. But I think that there's just a real, like, not only are they great cartoons, but there's like a genuine, like, tactile enjoyment in like holding a book of cartoons, flipping through it, being able to return to it, not having to pick up your phone and scroll through my Instagram account, that kind of, it's actually just like having it and having it sit there and being able to pick it up and leaf through it and have a chuckle. It's great. It's a rare thing now for cartoonists to get to publish cartoon collections. And so
Oh
it's
yeah,
really,
definitely.
so I think it's like, I'm very flattered that they were willing to let me put my stuff out, and I think it's because it's just like it's really good. It's just really really good cartoons. If you're interested in the craft at all, or you like New Yorker cartoon jokes, this is the book for you, and hopefully it's the first of many.
Are you going to do a book tour?
Yeah, yeah, I've got a lot of things. I live in Portland, Oregon, so I'm gonna do a tour at gonna start at Powell's, and I'm gonna come to. Where are you based, by the way?
I'm in Orange County, but Los
Okay,
Angeles
cool.
is very
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
close.
I'm still trying to set up some stuff in LA. If you have any favorite bookstores, let me know. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna do an event actually at the Public Theater at Joe's Pub on November
Oh,
12th. I'm gonna show up there and do a presentation on the book, and I'll also be in conversation with Roz Chast, who's another one of my cartoon heroes. Yeah, I'll be all over the place. I'm gonna post about it on my Instagram, which is at TB Toro, and on my website and Facebook and stuff like that. So keep your eyes peeled for when I'm gonna be coming to your town.
well, when you come to LA, I will buy a book and I will be first in line to ask for your autograph.
Great.
So, all
Great.
right.
I'll
Uh,
recognize you. I'll recognize you. Is
yeah,
is this your hat? You're wearing a hat that says sports. Is that your like go-to hat?
this is actually Norm's hat.
Oh, it is. Jeez.
Yeah,
Take care of
so
that thing.
yeah, I have a whole bunch of
Man.
them. But
You're on my I should have included you. You're on my Wet Mount Rushmore. Like I should you're there. It's Norm and he's holding you like a baby.
that's
Like
what I
I
want.
think that's the Mount Rushmore image I have of you.
Oh, why, thank you, Tom. Well, Tom, it was such an honor to talk to you and become your best friend for 45 minutes. I really appreciate that. And if there's anything else, I can't wait to talk to you again, man. You're a cool dude.
Thanks. No, this was a true pleasure. Thanks for having me. And I really enjoyed our chat. We'll be in touch.
All right, Tom. Well, have a great day and make people smile with your drawings and stuff. And good luck with And to Think we started as a book club, which is on out October 7th, Tuesday, 2025.
Take care.
All right, bye, Tom.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that was the episode. Subscribe, rate, review, and we'll see you guys next week on Reza Rifts.